So now we're going to start on our skirt. So I'm going to set this top portion aside and take some working yarn. Okay, so let's make a slip knot. And we're going to make a new chain. So size extra small, you're going to chain out 49 chains. A small is going to chain out 53 chains. A medium will chain out 61. A large will do 69. 1X will do 73 chains. 2X will do 81. And 3X will do 85. Alright, so once you chain out your chain for your size, let's grab our top portion and we're going to put our tail on the right hand side if you're right-handed, or left hand side if you're left-handed. That ensures that we're keeping in line with the every other row pattern that we've been doing. So we're going to keep the chain that we just made on our hook, and then we're going to put a back post shell into this middle stitch here where your tail is on that side. So we're going to do a back post shell into this back post shell. And now we are at this middle section that we were on before. So we're going to chain out the same amount of chains that we had there. So for extra small, that was 35 chains. A small was 37. A medium was 43. A large was 49. 1X was 51. 2X was 57. And 3X chained 59 chains. So chain that out. And once you chain out your chain for your size, then we're going to continue with the pattern. So we're going to put another back post shell here in this next shell. And then in this next section, we're going to chain out the same amount that we chained before. So that was for extra small was 13, small was 15, medium was 17, large was 19, 1X was 21, 2X was 23, and 3X was 25. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14, 15, 16, and 17. And then we're going to do another back post shell in the next shell. And so we'll repeat that. We'll chain 17 and do another back post, or chain the same amount as that's below here, and then do another back post shell, and then the same amount that you were chaining here, and do a back post shell again. So I will meet you there. All right, so once you finish with that second repeat there, now we're going to chain out another chain, and this chain is going to be one more chain than the chain we did on the other end. So let's see. So for size extra small, you're going to chain out 50. Small is 54. Medium is 62. Large is 70. 1X is 74. 2X is 82. And 3X will chain 86 chains here. And once you chain out your chain for your size, we're going to kind of like slip stitch this to the first chain. And it's a little bit tricky because you don't want your string to be crooked, but thank God we're not working into all of these stitches. We're kind of skipping a bunch of them, so it's not a super huge deal if it's crooked, but I'm gonna try anyway. Okay, I'm gonna try it so that the back bumps are facing on the same side, and I got the V's on the top. Okay, so we're just gonna slip stitch into that very first chain of that row. What did I do? Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna slip stitch those together to create a ring. And from here, I'm gonna chain 2, and then so chain 2, and then we're gonna turn our work. What am I doing? Turn my work. Yes, this way. Sorry, this one was a little bit confusing for me. Okay, so chain 2 and turn, and then we're going to put 3 double crochets into the same stitch as the slip stitch, which is kind of like behind there. So yarn over, and we're going to do 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So 3 double crochets into the same stitch. And now small, you're going to chain out 24, extra small, you're going to chain out 24 chains. A small will chain out 26, a medium is 30, a large is 34, 1x is 36, 2x is 40, and 3x will chain out 42 chains here. And once you chain out that chain for your size, now we're going to go to this chain that we just made, and we're going to skip the same amount of chains as we skipped as we chained here. So for medium, for example, I chained out 30, so I'm going to skip 30, and then I'll be working in that chain. So once you count out the chain that you're going to be working into, we're going to work 3 double crochets into that chain. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So we just did 30 chains and skip 30, or whatever it is for your size, and then we're going to chain out that same amount. So chain out your 24, 26, 30, 34, 36, 40, or 42 chains. And once you chain out your chain for your size, we're going to move forward and work a front post shell into the next shell below. So we'll do double crochet, front post double crochet, and a double crochet again. And then we're going to chain out now the same amount that we chained here. So it was 35, 37, 43, 49, 51, 57, or 59 chains here. And once you chain that out, we'll again put another front post. Looks like I skipped a stitch down there. I'll try to fix it. But then we're going to put another front post shell here, chain out the same amount you've been chaining in the middle, and then you'll do another front post shell, same amount, front post shell, same amount, and then front post shell, and I'll meet you there. All right, so once you finish that next side, so now we're going to chain out the same amount that we chained on this back side. So it was 24, 26, 30, 34, 36, 40, or 42. So now we're going to chain that out. Alright, so once you chain out your chain, you're going to skip that same amount. So 24, 26, 30, 34, 36, 40, or 42. Skip that same amount, and then you're going to put 3 double crochets into the next stitch. So it's 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to chain that same amount again. So 24, 26, 30, 34, 36, 40, or 42. Chain that out. And once you chain that out, we're back at the beginning of the round. So we are going to slip stitch into the very first of the 3 double crochets here. Alright, and now we're going to slip stitch one more over into that middle double crochet. And then we're going to chain 2 and turn our work to keep that every other row thing going. So now we're going to put a back post double crochet or back post shell into this middle stitch here. So we're going to put a double crochet, back post double crochet, which okay. And then another double crochet in the same stitch. And once you're done with your back post shell, now we're going to chain the same amount that we chained before. So for a medium that was 30. You should know what it is for in the back by now. So chain that out. And once you chain out your chain for your size, I know it might look a little weird, but it's not that hard. So you just line them up and make sure you know where you're going, but we're just going to skip all of that and then make our back post shell into this next shell. And then we'll chain the same amount again that we've been doing for the back side. So chain that out. Okay, so once you're done chaining that out, we'll do another back post shell into the next shell. And then now we were back on the front side. So once you're done with that next back post shell, we're going to continue along with this pattern. This row is the same as, kind of like the same as the row before. So you're going to chain out the same amount of chains of every section. So on the front side, you have this longer side and the 2 shorter ones in the middle. And then the longer side again. And you're going to keep doing your back post shells in between each set of chain spaces. And then on the back, you're going to do the same amount that you've been doing for the back and just keeping up with your back post shells in between. And then we're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet of this first shell. Alright, so once you make your way all the way around, we're just going to slip stitch into that first double crochet of the round, and then we're going to slip stitch over to that middle stitch, chain 2, and turn our work. So now we're kind of like just repeating this same row. We're going to, except we're going to put front post shells instead of back post shells. So for this row, we're going to essentially repeat the last row. We'll be putting the same amount of chain spaces in between your shells. Just make sure that on this round you're doing the front post shells. So you can make your way all the way around, chaining out the same amount that you've been doing on the back, on the side panels, and in the 2 middle panels. Make your way all the way around, and I'll meet you at the... Alright, so once you make your way all the way around this row, we're going to slip stitch into that very first double crochet of the row, and then we're going to slip stitch into that middle stitch of that shell there. So we're going to be repeating that row, and keep up with if you're on back post or front post shells. We're going to repeat this row until row 7 of the skirt is finished. So you can consider this row 3 of the skirt. That was row 1, that empty chain we did, and that's row 2 and row 3. So we're going to do this 4 more times. Just make sure you're switching up whether you're on back post or front post. Alright, so now this is what it looks like once you finish your repeating rows. Finish row 7, and it's just a nice little circle. You can see we're at the beginning of the skirt, but let's continue. So everybody should have just finished row 7, and row 7 was a back post row. So I've completed row 7, and I slip stitched into the first double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into that middle one, chain 2, and turn my work to start row 8. And row 8 is the first row of the next repeat. So we're going to start it off like we normally have been. We're going to do our front post shell. Chain 30, or chain chain the same amount that you've been chaining on the back side here. So mine was 30 for medium. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to chain 30, do our front post shell in the next shell. Chain the same amount for the back. Okay, so I chain my 30, and now we're going to again do another front post shell in the next shell. And once you're done with that shell, now we are on the front side here. And this is where we're going to start to change things. I'm just going to even this out so it's easier to see. But this is where we're going to start to shift this middle line here. I wanted to keep it kind of more centered for the waistline, and now we're kind of going into the hips, so I want it to actually curve out with the body. So what we're gonna do, we've been doing in this first segment of the front, we've been doing 35, 37, 43, 49, 51, 57, or 59 chains here, depending on your size. So now we're going to change this, and for size extra small you're going to chain 33, a small is going to chain 35, a medium is going to do 41, a large is 47, 1x is 53, 2x is 55, and 3x is 57. So we just decreased this by 2. So go ahead and chain that out. Okay, so I chained out 41, so I decreased it by 2. And now I am going to put another front post shell here. Okay, so we decreased this by 2, and now we're going to increase this little middle segment by 2. So before you were doing 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, or 25 chains in this middle segment. Now you're going to do extra small, you're going to do 15, small will do 17, medium is 19, large is 21, 1x is 23, 2x is 25, and 3x will do 27 chains in this segment. All right, so once you chain out that chain, we're going to go ahead and put another front post shell in this shell here. Okay, so we're going to mirror that on the other side. You're going to do 2 more, the same amount you did here, 2 more here, and 2 less on this next long segment. So go ahead and repeat what you did in the middle, just mirror it, and I'll meet you there. All right, so once you have completed your front side, we'll continue by putting another front post shell in the next shell. And then we'll finish the back like we've been doing. So chain the same amount that you've been chaining in the back, do your shell, and then chain the same amount again, and then slip stitch. All right, so once you're done with your back side, go ahead and slip stitch into that first double crochet of the round and slip stitch over. So that was row 8. So row 8 and row 9 are kind of going to repeat. So we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and now we're on the back side again. So we'll start off with a back post shell. Chain the same amount for the back. So go ahead and chain the same amount for the back, do your next back post shell, chain the same amount for the back, and do your next back post shell. All right, so I finished my 2 back segments, and now I'm back at the front. And so like I said, we're going to be repeating rows 8 and 9. They're pretty much the same, except row 9 has back post, row 8 had front post shells. So we're going to continue, now we're back at the front, we're going to continue what we just did. So we're going to decrease this longer panel by 2 and increase this longer chain by 2. Yeah, so decrease by 2 and increase by 2. So So extra small, this time you will chain out 31, small will do 33, medium is 39, large is 45, 1x is 51, 2x is 53, and 3x can chain out 55 chains right now. All right, and then when you chain out your chain that was decreased by 2 from the previous row, go ahead and make your next back post shell. And then this time we're going to increase this middle panel by 2. So extra small, you're going to do 17. Small, you'll chain 19. Medium will do 21. Large is 23. 1x is 25. 2x is 27. And 3x is 29. So go ahead and chain out your chain for your size. Alright, so I chained out my chain for my size, and then we'll again do another back post shell and this next shell. And so we're just going to mirror that, what we just did here. You'll mirror and add 2 to this chain here and subtract 2 from this chain here. And then when you get back to the back side, you'll do your 2 segments for the back, which is the same amount as you've had in the back. So I'll meet you when we get around to the end of the row. Alright, so I've made my way all the way around and finished this round, and we're going to continue to repeat rows 8 and 9. What we're going to be doing in the front is continuing with that pattern where we're going to decrease this outer panel of the front by 2 and increase this inner panel by 2 chains, and you'll do that on both sides here. So just pay attention to whether you're on a front post double crochet, front post shell for the even rounds, and a back post shell for the odd rounds. But just continue to do those increases and decreases. So for size extra small, you're going to continue repeating rows 8 and 9 until you finish row 12. Small, you'll also finish row 12. A medium, you'll finish row 13. Large and 1x, you'll do row 14, and 2x and 3x, you will continue until you finish row 15. So when you finish your repeats, you'll be very close to the amount of stitches that you have in the back. So for example, medium, I have 30 in the back. So when I'm done with these increases and decreases, my inner portion will have 29 stitches and my outer will have 31 stitches. And so everyone's outer should be 1 stitch greater than what you have in the back, and your inner portion should be 1 stitch less than what you have in the back. So go ahead and repeat this pattern, and okay, so this is what your dress should be looking like so far. And you can see in the front we kind of have like an increase in that center skinny part that we had just to go along with the hips. And so just so everyone's on the same page, let's see, size extra small. Let's go over what everybody's supposed to have in the back. So in the back, extra small, you have 24, small has 26, medium has 30, large has 34, 1x has 36, 2x has 40, and 3x has 42 chains in between each of these in the back. So now in the front, extra small, in your part that used to be wider, this should have 25 and your middle should have 23. Small, you should have 27 here and 25 here. Large, you should have 31 here and 29 here. Large, you should have 35 and 33. 1x should have 37 and 35. 2x should have 40 and 39, and 3x should have 43 and 41. So you should have like 1 less stitch here and 1 more stitch here than you do in the back. Okay, so now from here, so we're going to continue with the pattern, and from here it's going to get super easy. It's just 1 more repeating row, or 2 if you look at it, depending on counting the front post and back post. But really it's just one more row of repeats. It's super easy from here on out. So what we're gonna do from here, okay, so I slip stitched over, and now I'm gonna chain 2 and turn my work. And so now from here it's easy sailing. Everybody is going to do one amount of stitches in between every front or back post shell stitch. So some of us are going to be doing back post shell stitches right now, and some are going to be doing front post, depending on what side you ended up on. But from here, all we're going to do is make our first front or back post shell stitch, and then we're going to chain extra small. You're going to chain 24, small will chain 26, medium will chain 30, large will chain 34, 1x will chain 36, 2x will chain 40, and 3x will chain 42 like you've been doing. And once you chain your chain for your size, we're going to go ahead and do our next front or back post shell and the next shell. And we're just going to repeat that all the way around. So this time you'll only have the one number to repeat. There's no more numbers to remember other than that one number. So I'm doing medium, so I'm doing 30 in between every set of front or back post shells, and that goes for the front side as well. So go ahead and repeat and put your amount of chains in between each shell all the way around, and I'll meet you at the beginning of the row. Okay, so once you finish that row, we're just going to continue with the pattern that we've been doing, just doing the other post stitch shell. So if you did front post this time, you'll do back post in the next row, and vice versa, and it's the same row. So go ahead and repeat those 2 rows, the front post shell row and the back post shell row, with the same amount of chains in between every shell. So you're going to keep repeating that pattern until you reach your desired length for your dress. And here's some suggested lengths that I can put on the screen for you. So because there's a lot of numbers. So these are the rows that you want to complete. If you are trying to do a mini that's like higher up in the mid thigh, a mini that's just above the knee, a midi that's just below the knee, and a maxi. So these are just recommendations. You can always change how many rows you want to do. But in your last row, like normal, we're going to slip stitch into that first double crochet, and then slip stitch into the middle double crochet, and then fasten off. All right, so now we're going to turn the dress on its back side, so with the back side facing us, and we're going to find either your left hand or right handed side to reattach your yarn on the front. So we're going to reattach it on the front side in this double crochet here, this cornermost double crochet. So I'm just going to tie it a double knot. So tie a double knot or attach how you like to. And then we're going to pull up a loop, and now we're going to chain our chain for the strap that goes across the back. So extra small, you're going to chain out 135, a small will do 140, a medium will do 150, a large will do 160 chains, 1x is 170, 2x is 180, And 3x is 190 chains. All right, and once you chain out your chain for your size, now we're going to do the slip stitches back along this chain. So I think I got my thing twisted. There we go. So you're just going to probably skip this first stitch and just slip stitch into this second chain and keep slip stitching on down. So we're just putting one slip stitch in every chain until we reach the base of the dress again, and I will meet you there. And when you get to the base of the dress again, we're just going to single crochet into that same double crochet below that we attached to, and that's our first strap. And now we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and along this top string we're going to approximately skip 2 stitches. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you just kind of want to make sure that you're spacing them out, and then we're going to single crochet around that chain space. So chain 4, skip about 2 stitches, and then single crochet, and then chain 4, skip about 2, and then single crochet around the chain. And so we're just doing that all the way around. So chain 4, or all the way across rather. So chain 4, 4, skip about 2, and single crochet, and just try to space them out. You can eyeball it, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm gonna go until we get to the, I'm actually gonna continue until I get to the shell there. 1, 2, 3, 4, skip about 2, and single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Two, 3, 4. So I'm just gonna eyeball it so that I do get to put a single crochet in the bottom of the shell there. So that's why I'm trying to space these out a little bit so that I can force it to have a single crochet. So chain 4, 3, 4, chain 5 I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then single crochet in these eyes as you get to the eyes of the shells there. So we're just going to repeat that across until we reach the other corner. You can make sure that these are spread out evenly by making sure you keep the same amount of little loops in between the shell stitches. So I have 9 here, and I'm just going to make sure that I have 9 in every little chain segment. Alright, so once you make your way all the way across to the other corner, now we're going to finish that last loop. So chain 4, and then we're going to single crochet into that double crochet. Like that. And then we're going to chain the same chain that we chained on the other side, which was 135, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, or 190 chains. And once you chain out your chain for your size, we're going to do the same thing and slip stitch back on down this chain. So skip that first stitch and then put 1 slip stitch in every chain until you reach the beginning of the dress again. Alright, so once you're done slip stitching along this chain, then we're going to slip stitch into the same space, same stitch as the single crochet, that same double crochet there, and then we'll fasten off. And now we're just going to take our 2 ties and weave them into the little loops here. So you're just going to go back and forth on one side until you reach the middle. I don't know if I need a hook or however you can get them through. So just keep weaving them back and forth until you reach the center, and then you'll do the same on the other side. Alright, so once you have it all weaved through on both sides, I kind of left 2 holes in the middle to skip so I could have room to tie these, but this is where we're going to cinch the dress for our waist to look nice and snatched. And now we're going to do the top straps. So let's turn our dress. So we're going to take the circle from the top of one of the cups and find the middle top stitch, and then we're going to reattach our yarn there. So once you have your yarn attached, now we're going to start making our chain. So let's pull up a loop and chain out our top chain. So now we have, for extra small, you can chain out 130, small is 135, medium is 140, large is 145, 1X is 150, 2X is 155, and 3X can chain out 165 chains. Alright, so once you chain out your chain for your size, we're just going to do what we did like the other strap, skip that first stitch and then slip stitch into that second chain from the hook, and then continue to slip stitch along the chain until we reach the top of the cup again. Okay, so once you slip stitch all the way back down, I'm actually going to slip stitch into the neighboring stitch just so this one stitch doesn't have all that stress on it. So I'm going to slip stitch to the next stitch over, and just remember which 2 stitches you used on this side, and then you'll do the same on the second side. But once you slip stitch here, we'll fasten off. And then you will repeat for the other side and weave in your tails. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial for the Maxine Beach Dress. And part 3 will be coming soon, if it's not out already, to convert the torso part into a halter top. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. Other than that, thanks again so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave me a comment if you like this video. And I hope to see you on part 3. Bye!